I will call him Mini-Me. Hello, everyone. I'm Father Aaron. Welcome to the Dungeon Minister. Well, we are past Clericon now, and I return my attention to the regular recaps that are the bread and butter of this channel, or the meat and potatoes, peanut butter and jelly, onions and sauerkraut. Anyway, the recaps. When last we left off, our heroes had defeated the fearsome Saberclaws. Ugly-looking spuds, aren't they? Sorry. I didn't know you could hear me. Anyway, the Saberclaws are from the module Saber River, and that is a companion-level adventure, and so I needed to modify them slightly for use with a relatively modest-sized group, 4 adventurers, the highest of whom is 7th level, and, it goes down from there. And the 7th level is the thief, so not exactly a real tank, right? So I needed to modify them a little bit. And the form of modification was in the numbers that they flew in. In the module, they fly in wings of up to 20. Well, that was going to be impossible, right? If it's a wing of 20, and each one is assumed to bring 25 hit points into the shared pool of hit points that the monsters have, well, that's going to be impossible, right? So 4 of them, 100 hit points is hard enough for my group to face, especially when these are creatures that are immune to 3rd level and under spells, which includes Lightning Bolt, their primary, combat spell. All right, so I've modified them that far, but I wanted to retain some of their character. In the module, their creation was tied to the river, right? They had something to do with this river, and I didn't want to stray too far from that. So I have made them guardians of the bridge. Where they were encountered, they were specifically set to guard that bridge. Well, why guard the bridge? Why are you guarding the bridge? Because there's something further up the canyon that whoever created them does not want, anyone to have access to. Well, that would be the magic user's tower, their lair, their base, where they were. Okay, great. Do I want to have a big fight with a magic user? Not really. And it doesn't make sense in the power dynamic of this area of the world to have this magic user up there. So this is an ancient fortress, and the Saberclaws were created ages ago, and they have simply continued to guard this mountain pass. And that's why there are so few of them, because they have been, cut down bit by bit over the years. And maybe the dragon got a couple of them, maybe giants in ages past, maybe adventurers in ages past, so maybe the goblins took out a few. Who knows? But there has been some degree of precipitation in their numbers. And so it's just these 4 left. That's all that's left, guarding this pass. And, well, not anymore. Sorry. They're very sensitive. You'd think not, but look, Anyway, there's only the 4 left. They are now defeated, which means that whatever they were guarding is now standing empty. Now, the adventurers have to decide which way they're going to go. Will they follow the river, right? There's not really an obvious path there, but they could take the bridge apart and form a raft of it and pole their way upstream. They could do that. They could even wade, because where it's that wide, it's not super, super deep. And if they stuck to the edges, they might find ground that was shallow enough to wade. They could do that. They could backtrack and head up the path that would take them more directly to the dragon, but they decide they're going to go straight on up. They have a sense, too, that these creatures must have a lair, and that there might be treasure. Oh, they have no idea. They've got no idea. So, what's going to be up there? At this point, I hadn't really decided. I had wanted to have these creatures, once they made their choice to go this way, I said, okay, they're going to meet the Saberclaws. I'm going to put them at this bridge, guarding this bridge. I hadn't really thought through what's beyond it. So what will it be? Well, the pass continues up. This sort of canyon continues up, and then it splits off. But just where it splits, facing southward, there is a cavern. There's a system of caverns in this face of rock. And that is where the Saberclaws were created. At any rate, they have spent the night there at the bridge, just a little bit south of the bridge, and you'll remember a wandering mule. I rolled up a random encounter animal, and it turned out to be a mule. So they have captured this mule that I decided, some adventurer had lost months ago and has been wandering around fending for itself ever since. They've captured it, and now they have another pack animal, which is nice. They don't have any more saddlebags. They sunk all of those back in the Great Northern Sea before they went through the Goblin Pass. So they don't have anything to load it up with. They could, jerry-rig something, I suppose, but anyway. They have another pack animal, which is nice. Up the canyon they go. I roll for some random encounters for the morning's journey. Nothing comes up. They're going to be fine. And they reach the spot. And it's not even hidden at all. There's a cavern. It's right there, right? It's a cavern opening at the ground level. But I say it doesn't look like it's well used. The ground in front of it doesn't look disturbed in any way, shape, or form. You see on the cliff above another opening. Another opening there. Remembering that these creatures fly, they guess that's probably what they went in and out of. Now, they're assuming that this is the lair of these creatures. It is. But it could be anything. They assume it has something to do with the creatures. I do say there is a sense of cold and evil in this place. You just get a sense of everything being wrong here. There's an underlying something that just puts you out of sorts. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Anyway, now what do? They don't want to leave their mules and horses here to be eaten by whatever might come by. They're a little nervous, and they are all relatively low in hit points, or most of them are pretty low in hit points. What are they going to do? Split the party. Of course, of course.
Go!
Foefire and Fleetwood will stay outside watching the animals, while Bob, Johnny, and Touchberry enter the cave. All right then. In you go. Are you going to light anything before you go in, or are you going to trust infravision? Remembering that the elf has infravision, the halfling has the cat's eye marble, which allows him to see in the dark. They're going to trust to infravision at first. So, in they go. Now, at this point, I don't have anything designed. I had decided that this would be here, but I hadn't laid it out. I know this is a new episode, but this was actually the end of the previous session. And I had sort of thought we'd wrap things up, but they really wanted to keep going and we had time, so we kept going, and I just invented on the fly. So we enter a cavern. And I describe it as being dank, and there is a definite smell. There is a definite odor of waste and of ruin in here, decay and rot. Rotting what? Less certain. I don't know that the Saberclaws eat food. They're a magically created creature. I don't know that they're running around hunting rabbits and stuff like that. But I do feel like there would be an odor of just wickedness and rot around them. So that's what there is. In they go into the cavern. This bottom layer doesn't look to have been occupied at all in any recent time. There is, however, a passage out the end of it. These are natural caverns, and so the passage isn't, marked or anything, but they do look around and they find there's a crack in the wall that a person can easily fit through, and in they go, and it goes down a little bit to another chamber. This one, damp. The water settles here, it's lower, but in this area there is, hooked into the wall, now wrapping around on the south side, hooked into the wall, there are iron rungs, ancient, rusted iron rungs. Do you dare climb? They dare. Up they go. Ascending these rungs, a couple of them break loose, and so we're doing some rolls to see if they fall, if they slip. At one point, Touchberry falls a couple of rungs down, but he makes a check to grab a rung as he goes, and he doesn't fall and knock Bob Johnny down. So up they continue to go. They reach at the top another chamber. This one dry, because of course it's up above. and littered, littered with bones. Ancient, ancient bones, none of them recent. Nothing here has been killed recently, but this was a chamber of death. Many of the bones are human. Now, I'm creating this as I'm going, and I'm starting to conceive of a place in which these creatures were made, and their creation would require sacrifice. It would require the deaths of some humanoids, of intelligent, sentient beings to create these things. Maybe the base body of the thing is made out of the remnants of sacrifice, and so the bones and bodies were ripped apart and stitched back together in weird ways. I don't know. It's just all sounding horrific and disgusting, and we're past Halloween, so, at any rate, there it is. They find the remnants, though, of some grisly horror show that happened. They also find a rising passage that curls around back to be over the cavern they came in, and through that they go. And here they find a huge, tall cavern, not terribly wide, but long and tall, rising well into the dark and expanding upward and out as it goes. And I say you can barely make out, at the limits of your sight, ledges cut into the rock, and they definitely look cut on purpose, and over the edges of it spill the remnants of nests of some kind. Now, I don't know how Saberclaws live. I don't remember the module that well. I took a cursory look at it because I knew I was taking them out of their place and using them in my own way, so I didn't really spend a lot of time looking at it. But I imagine them roosting, maybe at the brightest, hottest part of the day, returning here and roosting. Here also, I say, up above, you see an opening. That is the second opening that they saw on the outside, leading out. It's an opening, but the light is not bright, so clearly where it is, it goes a little further before it reaches the opening. There's a tunnel up there of some sort, but you can see that's there. And on these edges, you see a handful of what look like nests. Oh, we're burning those. Oh, we're definitely burning those, says Touchberry. He pops out oil flasks. He starts lighting them and chucking them up there. So I give him a really kind of simple armor class to hit. I think you needed to get a equivalent of an AC 10 just to get oil up to the level, right? Now that's the lower ones, the ones that he can reach with a throw, which is no problem for him at all. The higher ones are beyond a throw, right? All right, so what are we going to do? How are we going to get up there to check to see if there's any of these creatures? A couple of the nests are now on fire, burning away over their heads, and bits of burning plant matter are falling down, and all right, what are we going to do? Well, we got to get Faux Fire in here. She can scale the wall and tell us what's up there. All right. Down they go. They call in Faux Fire, and this time Fleetwood's like, well, I'll stay with the animals. I'm not going in there because I don't want to leave the animals alone, but, be quick, would you? All right. In comes Faux Fire. She follows them up and scales the wall. This is not a problem. At 7th level, it's almost a sure thing. The roll is almost superfluous, but occasionally she slips. She doesn't. She makes it up there just fine. Now, by the time she gets up to this ledge, the nests, well, they're pretty well burned up, because the two that Touchberry torched were the ones that looked the fullest, but she also sees the remnants of older nests, kicked apart, long since deteriorated, not used for many years, apparently. There was a larger colony here at some point. She can also see from this ledge, she can see that tunnel which leads out, and she can see that just inside of it there's a side tunnel. I'm going to climb up there and figure out what that is. You sure? You're going alone? Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find what it is. So up she clambers again. It's a very simple roll for her to make. Up she goes. She has attained the level of that upper tunnel, and she can see that it does indeed head out and open, maybe another 20 to 30 feet down. It opens out. That's what they saw when they looked at the cliff. But this side tunnel goes into darkness. She doesn't really want to head in there alone. How high up am I? Okay, you are about 50 feet up off the ground. Okay, that's too high to lower the rope down, a 50-foot rope. To have anything to hold on to, it's still going to be too high off of the ground for the others to grab onto. So she scrambles back down to the ledge and helps Touchberry first up to that ledge, and then Touchberry and her hold the rope so Bob Johnny in all that armor can come up the rope as well. All right, now they're all three on the ledge. She heads up to the tunnel, drops down the rope, and does the same thing. Touchberry first, then Bob Johnny. They all get to the tunnel. All right, what's down this side passage? Down they go, and they find a door, a stone door. It's clearly movable. It clearly is designed as a door, but the thing is stone, so there's no breaking this down. All right, search for traps. She searches for traps. She finds nothing. Okay. Is it locked? Let's find out if it's locked first. Yeah, it's locked. Okay, try picking the lock. All right, not great odds, but no, that's nice. She does it. She picks the lock. There's a satisfying little clank, and whatever mechanism is in here, a metallic mechanism within the stone, clicks, and the door swings open. And the trap that she didn't find is sprung. Now, it's a blade trap. It swings out and it catches faux fire. Fortunately, she didn't have it to spare or anything, but fortunately she wasn't down into single digits or anything. It gets her, and it's going to do a 1d12. Wow, okay, it does 8 points of damage. Ouch. Ouch. That was a mistake. Probably should have, well, what could she do? She tried, right? She just didn't find it. In they go. The room beyond is dark. I should have mentioned they did light a lantern when she was brought in because she doesn't have night vision. The room beyond is dark, so she holds the lantern up, and its rays cast upon two statues standing at the far end. This is only about 15, 16 feet deep, right? Probably only about 10 feet wide. There are two statues standing at the end. Both of them look just like Saberclaws, but they have their arms folded, that cruel blades sticking and kind of curling over their head. It's all carved in stone, but there they are. And of course, oh, those are going to come to life. Those are going to come to life, right? They're not. Between them is a stone box, carved out of the living stone. There is this box. The statues actually are carved directly out of the wall as well. A lot of stone was removed to make all of this happen. But there's this box, no lid on it at all. And from it comes a glinting. In it is treasure. Gold. So, the creation of these creatures, I've decided in the sort of the lore that's building in my head that nobody will ever know except you watching this video, that the creation of them required the sacrifice of humans and of gold. And that at their creation, the blood of the victims was mixed with the gold as it was placed in. I'm kind of going to a Pirates of the Caribbean, the gold and the Aztec gold thing. I'm kind of going there. As they were created, the gold was given with blood, right? The blood of the victims who then, were torn apart to become the Saberclaws. This is getting very gruesome. We played it before Halloween, so it wasn't even a Halloween episode. I don't know why it was. I think I thought I might be recapping it at Halloween, but Claricon was just too much. I couldn't. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this is, the remnants of sacrifice. Now, that was ages ago. The blood is long since dried. It is no longer, but it is horrific. It is horrific. Also, nestled in the midst of this pile of gold is a perfect glass sphere, a crystal ball. Now this one, they've got a treasure value, and there was a likelihood of there being a magical treasure, and I rolled it up, and it came crystal ball, and that clicked for me. That clicked for me because, remember, I'm doing this at the table, right behind the screen, just quick, boom, boom, boom. But that clicked for me because they have a limited sort of telepathy. They can predict moves, which makes them harder to hit, right? So they've got that limited telepathy. The crystal ball also had to be sacrificed in their making. That is what gave them that capacity. So here it sits in this sacrificial vault. Well, there's cash. Well, let's start pulling it out. So they start loading the bags that they have, right? They don't have a lot, and as they do, I see you're scraping off the gold and you're coming across bones. Pieces of body were mixed in with this. It's really gruesome. I think we may... You think so? Yeah. Time for a stuffed bear sanity break. This stuffed bear sanity break was brought to you by Mango Bear, the cuddliest little bear you'll ever meet. Anyway, all the grossness aside, they load up their bags with treasures and the precious, precious crystal ball. Now, we've got to get it out to Fleetwood, so now it's a reverse process of lowering things down ledge by ledge, lower the halfling first, the elf first, so he can receive things, etc., etc., etc. So they get everything down and out. That actually ended the session. So this recap, I know, doesn't have a lot of action in it, but it is the end of that session, and there's a couple of extraordinarily important things that happen. First, the gold that they get is going to likely, once they achieve a safe place and they have a chance to rest, because I don't do field promotions. They have to be back to a place of rest and safety. But once they are, this is definitely a field promotion for at least somebody in the party. Touchberry likely is going to be going up a level. What they got here from the giant, from Giant's Tomb, everything that they've gotten on this leg, someone's going up a level. Actually, the Giant's Tomb, they already captured that back at the village, but still. The other thing is the crystal ball. Now, they didn't think about this during the session. No one brought it up during the session. But a few days later, Fleetwood came and said to me, that crystal ball is going to be really helpful fighting the dragon. It's going to be really helpful fighting the dragon. Indeed. I wonder what powers it will have. I wonder what limitations it might have. It's written out in the Dungeon Master's rulebook, but the thing about BECMI is that the rules tend to be written vague enough that you can flex them a little here, there, and the other place. And the other thing is, we don't have to take it as written. This crystal ball belonged to a very evil magic user, whose whole back history I haven't even written yet. But it belonged to an evil magic user. So, what can it see? What can it not see? And what lies might it tell? Let the new guy have a chance.